Wade, your class is live now, and you are the host now. You can also make me your co-host now.
Uh, there we go. Hang on a sec. There you go.
Thank you.
Hi, Julie. Can you hear me, Julie?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hi.
Okay, hi, how are you?
Good. Welcome.
Wait, nice to see you. It's been so long since I've been in one of your classes or talked to you.
Oh, it has been. Good to see you, Christine.
Nice to see you too.
Thanks for stopping in.
I'm not presentable.
Okay, that's all right. As long as we can hear you, that's good. Hi, Judith. How are
Hi.
you?
Not too bad. My first time.
Okay, great. Glad to have you. Hope you enjoy it, and we're seeing a lot of other classes.
Yeah, I tried to get in the other day, but for something, I was my first sign up, and for some reason, it didn't put for your Zoom class, and I couldn't get through. So anyway.
Okay, well, I'm glad we got it working now.
Yep.
Lots of classes out there, so I hope you find a lot that you enjoy.
Yeah.
Hi, Michelle. Welcome. Good to see you. And Barb, hi. How are you?
Just fine, thanks.
Good to see you. Hope everybody's having a great Friday afternoon.
Not.
No? Oh. Hey,
But I'm
Daniel.
sure I'll end this optimistically and
Oh, I'm a chronic
Feeling-
optimist.
promising.
Hi, Danielle, are you there?
I am. Happy Friday.
Hi, welcome back. Let's see, and Donna, how about you? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, there you are. Okay, good. I really just checking microphones. I want to make sure everybody can hear me and I can hear everyone. So when you have questions later, we can connect easily. We're going to probably have a few other people joining us. While we're waiting, let's just kind of check in and see where people are coming from. Christine, where are you from?
In Seattle, rainy
Seattle.
day in Seattle.
Hey, and I'm from North Carolina. I'll talk about that a little more later. Judith, where are you from?
I'm in Canada, in London, Ontario.
London, Ontario. Great. Thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, Michelle?
Detroit metro area.
Detroit. Cool. All right. Barb?
Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Michigan. Okay. I had to have somebody from Michigan here. You Michigan people are great. Julie?
Eugene, Oregon.
Oregon. All right. Great. Dania?
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. Okay. I used to live in Pittsburgh, so I was over in Cincinnati several times. Let's see. Donna?
From New York City and Queens.
Queens. Okay. Great. I see Laurie's coming
Yes,
in.
I'm coming in. Hello.
There you are. Hi, Laurie.
Hi,
We were just checking in where everybody's from. Where are you coming in from?
from New York.
New York. Okay. So we got 2 New Yorkers in already.
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, so we're probably gonna have a few more people coming in, but I'm gonna get started setting things up so we can get started here on time in a few minutes. It takes me a couple of minutes to get everything set up and going. So let me go ahead and share my screen first off. And so you should be seeing my slides hopefully at this point.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, and I'm moving your pictures over to my other monitor here so I can see you on my separate monitor. So when I'm looking over here, I'm looking at your pictures. I'm not looking out the window. You know, it's a beautiful day here in North Carolina, sun shining. I should be outside. I'm going to be in about an hour. This is my last class. All right. And let me see, just to remind everybody that we'll be muting everybody when the class starts. So when you have a question or a comment, just remember to unmute yourself first and then ask away. You don't need to raise your hand or anything. At any point, you can just unmute. If you have questions, comments, if I cover something too quickly or you want me to go over something again, please unmute and let me know, hey, I didn't quite get that. Can you explain that again or differently? Always love to hear comments. The more questions, the more fun the class is for everybody. Okay, I'm also opening up the chat in case anyone does have problems with their microphone. You can reach us via the chat, or if you want to contact us via the chat for any other reason. It is now open. And Todd from our TA group is here today. He's going to be monitoring the chat to make sure I don't miss any questions that you put in there. And he can also answer any questions or problems you're having with your technology, with your microphone or your video, or any other questions you have. You can always reach Todd in the chat. Todd, thanks for joining us. I always appreciate your help. Makes my life easier. Hi, Lynette. So you've come in.
Hi, Wade. I'm back again.
You are back again. Great. It's always good to have you. Okay. I think we have everything set up here, and it is, I usually take the first 5 minutes just to give everybody a chance to get logged in and get their technology working, and we are there. So let's go ahead and get started. So this is how to build a great LinkedIn profile. Thanks for joining, and I hope you enjoy the class. My name is Wade Yarber, and I'll be your guide for the class today. Briefly about me, I was born and raised in a town called Mason, Tennessee. It's a small farming community just outside of Memphis, 500 people on a good day, so it's a very small town. I now live in Southport, North Carolina, so one state over. I have my doctorate in psychology. It was in experimental psychology, not clinical, so I won't be psychoanalyzing anyone. And I taught psychology off and on during my career, but most of my career was spent designing, installing, and training users on healthcare information systems. I did have a minor in computer science, so I've kind of bounced back and forth between psychology and technology most of my career. But what I love teaching here is Get Set Up is that I get to teach people like you that are in the class because you're interested in the class, not because somebody told you you had to go to the class. And that is what we try to do. We try to create classes that you're interested in, that you can take with other people that are interested in the same topic. You can interact with each other, interact with the guide. That's really the Get Set Up strategy, is to create a safe, interactive environment. That's why we love it. If you can turn your cameras on, that way everybody can see each other. Makes it feel a little more comfortable. But if you're not comfortable turning your camera on, it is certainly not required. The session is being recorded, and any participant can request a copy of that recording. Just send an email to help@getsetup.io. And I'm going to put that in the chat as well in case you don't have that already in your email contacts. You can copy and paste it out of the chat. That is pretty much your one-stop shopping for communication with Get Set Up. If you have questions, comments, complaints, send it to help@getsetup.io. It'll get routed to the right person for you. We're also live streaming the class, so I do want to welcome anyone joining us via live stream. Thanks for joining the class. Hope you enjoy it as well. But the only way to get that full interactive experience I just described is to go to our website and register for the class. So we hope you'll do that as well in the future. And finally, Get Set Up is not paid to promote any of the products and vendors that we train on. So let's take a look at the agenda for today. We're going to start off just by talking about what LinkedIn is and why you might want to use it. Then we're going to review several different profiles, focusing on some of the good and bad features of those profiles, give you ideas of things you may want to do to improve your profile. And then finally, we'll talk about how to update your profile. So we'll go over how you can go through and add some of those things you came up with looking at the sample profiles. So what is LinkedIn? LinkedIn is a professional networking site designed to help people make business connections, share their experiences, and find jobs. 3 different things. Most people tend to only focus on the third one here, but there's lots of other good aspects of LinkedIn. And especially lately, since we're not doing business conventions and conferences and things like we used to, that's where we used to go to make business connections, meet new people in our industry, share experiences, find out what was going on. You can do all that through LinkedIn as well. It is the top professional social networking site. There's over 133 million users in the United States, so there's lots of people there to meet. And in terms of that finding job part, JobVite Recruiter National Survey found that 87% of recruiters use LinkedIn as part of their candidate search. So if you're searching for a job, having a good LinkedIn profile is critical. I'll say this up front, and I'll probably say it several more times. A bad LinkedIn profile is worse than no LinkedIn profile, because you're going to get kicked out quickly by these recruiters. So it is a key part of any job search. But it's also important if you're trying to make business connections. If someone looks at your profile and isn't impressed, they're either not going to accept your request to be in their network or reach out to you for whatever reason. So lots of reasons besides job hunting to have a great LinkedIn profile. And just kind of an aside, Microsoft did purchase LinkedIn a while back. It was originally an independent company. I guess on the good side, it means there's some financial backing to keep LinkedIn going and growing. And again, if you have questions, please just ask questions, or if I go through something too fast, let me know. So why use LinkedIn? We've talked about this a little bit already. Find and connect with other professionals in your field. Get updates on activities and developments in your field, both from your contacts and from companies and organizations. We're not going to go over it in this class. We'll just touch on it when we go by that screen. But LinkedIn is like Facebook. You've got a news feed in Facebook where you find out social information about people. LinkedIn has a news feed where you get that business-oriented information. So it really is the business companion to Facebook, if you want to think about it that way. And of course, you can find a job. Find jobs, manage your job search, use your connections to land the job. We do have a separate class on how to use LinkedIn to find a job. But the first step is getting a good profile. So that's why we split that into two different classes. And if you'll notice when we start looking at LinkedIn, there's a little number beside people. You've probably noticed that, but in case you haven't, or if you've seen it and aren't sure what that means, that's called your degree of connection. So anyone that has a first, that means they're a first level contact. It means that's somebody that you've asked to join their network. They've asked you to join their network. If we want to continue that Facebook analogy, these are people you're friends with. The second level are people that are in someone's, one of your first level connections. So using Facebook again, this is like friends of friends. And then your third level is taking it even one level deeper than Facebook does. So these are people that are first level of your second levels. So you can quickly see how in LinkedIn, you can have a huge network when you go out to third level connections. And that is important because a lot that goes on is based on having a connection, even if it's a third level connection. Okay, any questions about any of that background material? All right, well, let's jump in and take a look. We're going to start by looking at some profiles. And we're going to start with this one, which you're probably going to guess pretty quickly is not the exemplar profile. This is Mr. Wade, James Wade, and he is the Director of Client Services at Future Healthcare. Doesn't have a picture. That's a big no-no. You always want to have a profile picture. It's got the standard background. That's not a negative necessarily, but I consider that a lost opportunity to do something a little to break yourself out of the pack. This is called the headline, and this is where you get your first information. And he's got his job title, and that's what most people do. I'll show you how you can spiff up your headline to make it stand out a little bit more. Highlights is where LinkedIn finds something in common between you and that person. We both went to Mississippi State, so they let me know that you both went to Mississippi State and that I might want to say hello. If I click here, I can send him a message via LinkedIn Messenger. Activities, this is where it shows how much James has posted and interacted with posts, and he hasn't done anything in the last 90 days. Experience, this is your resume, work history, and there's only one thing here. He's been director of client services for 17 years. That's where he went to school. Does have 3 skills, but there's no endorsements. If you're not familiar with endorsements, I'll show you that later. But basically, endorsements is where someone else confirms, yes, James does have healthcare skills and hospital skills and customer relation skills. And then interests is just where he went to school. A very unimpressive LinkedIn profile. This is one of those that I would say it's worse than having no profile at all. And just so you know, I'm not picking on somebody. This is fake. I created this one just for the class here. I didn't want to get a real person and that might someday take the class and see themselves in the class. But if you go look out on LinkedIn, you will find a lot of profiles that look just like this. But it's a good low starting point. Okay. So let's step up a level and look at a real profile. This is Dr. Gartner. He's a friend of mine. We worked together a couple of jobs back. Nice picture, nice professional profile picture. Has the stock background, which again, not necessarily a negative, but it's a lost opportunity. We'll talk more about that in some of the other profiles we'll look at. His headline here, he could just say he's Director of Analytics at UNC, but he has spiffed it up a little bit, Analytical Solutions Manager, Enterprise Analytics and Data Sciences. One of the big things you're trying to do with your profile is to get someone's attention and make them curious about you, make them keep reading about you. So that's a way to do, this is your first opportunity to do that. And this headline section is important because this is the first thing anyone sees if they come to your profile. If they search, it's also the first thing anyone sees. So if I search, I'll search for Bob. There's always a lot of Bobs out there. So first thing you see is the picture. If you don't have a picture, that's obvious there. The person's name, and then this is that headline, what they're, and again, most of them are just the job description, regional sales manager, owner operator. But again, I'll show you some ways you can maybe do a little more than just the basics, because that's kind of the game. You want to break yourself out of the pack and stand out a little bit. Oh, and here's that first that we talked about. So that means that we are in the same network. Either he asked me to be in his network or I asked him. I can't remember which way it worked, but he's in my network. And again, highlights, it tells me we both work together at Allscripts and that I can say hello and send him a message here. About is the first section where you get to provide some information. James didn't even complete this section of his profile. There's a game here, and here's the game. You get 3 lines roughly, and then a see more. And you want to get them to click the see more, which means you want these first 2 or 3 lines to catch the person's attention and curiosity. And Gary's is pretty good. Energetic clinical informatics leader, innovation and innovator, leveraging digital health technology to advance health and well-being. Pretty good. I really like his second line though. Unique combination of deep expertise in clinical medicine, technology knowledge, clinical informatics, and real-world industry experience. He's saying, look at me. I'm different than the other people you're going to look at. I've got a unique background. And so they want to click see more to find out more about his background. Why is he different? What's unique there? So that's kind of the first tip. Those first 2 lines need to be something that's going to make somebody click the see more, or they'll never see the rest of it. Activity, he has posted it. Yeah, well, he hasn't posted. People don't typically interact as much with LinkedIn as they do with Facebook, even though they should, and I fall in that category as well. But if you are job hunting, or if you're actively trying to grow your network, you do need to go out there and post something. So when someone looks at this part of your profile, they can see that you've posted, you've shared, you've commented, that you're active on the website. The next is your job experience, and pretty much the rules for resume hold here. You want to talk about accomplishments, not just roles and responsibilities, et cetera, et cetera. So you could pretty much take if your resume is good, you can just put that in here without worrying too much about it. There is a way to do more, and I'll show you that on the next profile that we look at, but not a big area from that sense if you follow the typical resume rules in setting up your work history. Same thing for education. You pretty much have to put your education. While we're still talking about here, and this holds for resumes as well, there's always discussions about gaps. So I personally think you don't want to have gaps, because I think most recruiters start and they check February, January. If there's gaps, they start to wonder, why is there a 3-year gap here? If you have a gap, you at least need to be able to be prepared to explain it if you get to the next level. Now, in terms of going all the way back, if you're the age that we are, and you had a job when you were 16 years old working at the hot dog stand, you don't need to put that in there. So gaps are more important than not having some work experience from 50 years ago. Education, again, you can pretty much pull from your resume, even though there's a couple of things you can do here that I'll show you on the next profile. One thing about your profile that's different from your resume is resumes, the rule is keep it short and sweet. 2 pages max, 1 page is better. With your profile, you can be a little more verbose, especially if it's relevant. You don't want to just throw things in there to make it long, but things like licenses and certifications, if you have them and they're relevant, you want to get them in there. Because again, the bigger trick here is something someone's going to remember, something's going to pull you out of the pack. So Gary's got a couple of certifications that he has. Here's the skills and endorsements. Again, Gary has said that he has EHR skills. 40 other people have said, yes, I agree, Gary has these skills. That's much more impressive than just Gary saying he has EHR, like in James's profile, where he had no one that endorsed it. Informatics, he's got 18 people. Healthcare, he's got 17 people that have endorsed it. There's a trick here as well to getting endorsements. And pretty much if you endorse someone else, there's a reasonably good chance they're going to endorse you back. Now, you want to keep your credibility. You don't want to just go in and start randomly endorsing people to hope that they'll endorse you back. But if you're somebody you work with, somebody you worked for, you can legitimately say, yes, this person has EHR skills. Go into their profile and endorse them. And a good percentage of them will endorse you back. And just so you know, when you're looking at this screen, the green check mark means that I have endorsed him on those 2. This one I haven't. So that's how you can tell. You can go into someone's profile that you've worked with, your old bosses, whoever, and you can check the ones you want to endorse. You can come back later if you can't remember what you endorsed them for. You can see which ones you have in the past. And again, you've got this see more thing. We'll talk about this a little bit more later as well, but it only shows 3, and then you got to go to the show more. So you want these 3 to be your 3 best skills, the most important ones, because they may not ever click this show more. So don't put your most impressive skill in the bottom of the list. If they do click show more, then it shows all the different skills that they've said that they have. Recommendations. You can give and receive recommendations via LinkedIn. Gary has received one. It's good to get them in LinkedIn, one, so people looking at your profile can see these. Also, if you are job hunting and if you apply for a job via LinkedIn, it will send those recommendations as part of your job application. So that part of the job application is already taken care of. I'll show you how to ask for recommendations later. and recommendations that you've given to someone else. This is impressive as well. This is something the recruiters are looking for is, are you giving and receiving, or are you just receiving? So it's good to have given recommendations. So if someone asks you for a recommendation, if you can legitimately recommend the person, do it. It's good for that person. It also looks good in your profile that you've given several recommendations. Accomplishments is another section that typically wouldn't be in your resume, but if there's some accomplishments that you have that are relevant, put them in here. Gary has 3 publications that he's done. He's taken a couple of courses. This is one pretty much everybody's taken some courses that they could put in here. They don't have to be college courses for credit. It could be a web course that you took, but if it's relevant to your career area or the job you're interested in, put it in here. To be honest, lots of times people don't even click here to see what those 3 publications are. They might, but lots of times they don't, but they're going to make a mental note. Wow, 3 publications, 2 courses. That's good. Keep scrolling. It's made an impression, even if they never look at them. Now, in case they do, you don't want to put trash in there because it needs to be something that is relevant. And then the last thing is the interest. This is showing whoever's reading it, what you're interested in, what you're following. So these are individuals or companies that Gary is following, is interested in. Click the See All here, and it'll open a page where it breaks the interests into 4 groups. Influencers are people that LinkedIn has designated as key people in different industries and areas. So Dan Early is one. Now, one thing to do after class, your homework is to go to the profiles of people that you respect in your area and look at their profiles. And one of the things you definitely want to do is come to their interest and click on it and see who they're following. Because if there's somebody, that's a good way to get ideas. So I might say, wow, Dan Ehrlich, that's a great contact. I want to have that one too. I can click follow, and I'm now following Dan as well. I can see the companies that Gary is following. Well, I should be able to. We're having a little computer hiccup here for some reason. Let me close this and open it again. See what happened. All right, so I'm having a little, oh, there it is. So just a slow internet moment. So these are the company he's following. So again, look at the ones from the people that you're looking at, the profiles you're looking at from people in your area, and you'll probably find some good companies that you want to also follow. If you do, click follow and you can add them to your interest list. Same thing with groups. If I was a physician and I was flipping through here, I might say, oh, Physicians Transforming Healthcare. That's a group I'd like to be a part of. With the group, you can't just click and follow, but you can click here, go to that group and ask to join that group. Some groups are open to the public. If you click request to join, it's like Facebook, you automatically join. Most of them have some type of a review process where they'll probably pop up a form you have to fill out explaining your background and why you want to be part of this group. But it also shows you which of your connections are already in that group, which will give you an idea that whether it's a good group for you or not. And you can even check with some of those people to see whether this is a reasonable group that you want to be part of. Questions about Gary's profile? Okay. And if not, hopefully you're getting some ideas here.
At the top of it with the photo, there are stock for this, the gray part. Isn't there stock photos or something that you can put behind there?
There are stock ones there that LinkedIn provides, and you can take a picture that you took or take a stock image off the internet and make your own background. So yeah, you can, that's why I say it's not necessarily a negative to have the stock background, but it's a lost opportunity to stand out. It's kind of how I look at it.
Okay. 'Cause,
And-
yeah.
And that's a good segue to the last one we're going to look at. We're going to go through this one a little bit quicker because I kind of explained all the sections in this one. But let me set the stage a little bit. You know, Gary is a professional. He's a analytics, mathematics, statistics kind of guy. And his profile gives you that impression that he's a serious professional. Everybody's not a serious professional, but it's good to set that tone. Let me show you the next one we're going to look at. And this is Lauren Yoda. And this one, just when you glance at the headline, this first section up here gives you a totally different impression than Gary's. I mean, she's got a nice profile picture, but it's not your standard business profile. She's smiling, looking up, got a blue jean jacket on. She doesn't use the stock background. She's using a custom background. Let's look at her byline here. Rock your profile queen, powerhouse program manager, opportunity connector. I don't know if I know what that means, but I'm intrigued. And I want to kind of keep reading about here. I'm already, she's piqued my interest just from her picture and her headline here. I don't know if that's her official corporate job title or not, but it's, again, it's intriguing. Oh, by the way, she works for LinkedIn, so you would expect her to have a good LinkedIn profile. She's a second level connection of mine, and she's actually going to be doing a presentation for Get Set Up as a guest speaker in the near future. I'll put a link to that in the email that comes out after class. So let's look at her profile. So again, she's the only one we've seen that have changed there. So let's go to the about. Again, I said here, the trick is get their interest, make them click the see more. I'm an aspiring leader who connects people to ideas so they can unlock potential and achieve the impossible. My name is Lauren Yoda, and this is my leadership purpose. Don't you just want to click that and say, what else does this lady have to say? And when you do, she takes full advantage of it. She breaks it into several sections, my mission, my magic, bringing it all to life. So, she gives you lots of information if you click that show more, but she really, I think, puts the hook out there to get you to click it. Activity, she's the only person that's had any activity. You can see that she's actively commenting and liking. Most of these are just comments that she's put on someone else's post, but it's enough that there's something on this page, which looks better than being none. Here's her employment history. And I told you there's some ways to spiff this up a little bit. What you can do is you can include links to pictures, to videos, to websites. This one, I think, is just a picture. But again, what this is starting to say is that, okay, this is not your standard person. She's technically savvy. She's a little bit out there, but I like that. She's got a lot of these linked into her profile. I'll show you how you can do that. It's very easy to put something in here. And this is another one of those things that probably a lot of people may not ever even click on that link, but they're going to remember, oh yeah, Lauren, she's the one that had all those links in her job history, isn't she? Yeah, that's the one. She starts to stand out. And if you're ever done recruiting, and you've read through 20 resumes, they all start to look alike after a while. This is how you make yours stand out. Okay, so let's go down to education. And I mentioned you can do a little bit there as well. There's a way to put some more information about the place where you went to school. You can add things like if you were on the dean's list or not, but you can even add information about the college. So maybe you went to a small private college that most people don't know anything about. And you may want to put something in here that Smith College is a small college that's nationally known for their MBA program, their art history program, whatever, why that is an impressive university to have gotten your degree from. If it's UNC Chapel Hill or University of California, Los Angeles, people know what that one is. But if it's something that people don't immediately recognize the name, it's an opportunity to explain why this is impressive that I got a degree there. Volunteer experience. If you've done it, it's always impressive. Recruiters love this. HR people love this. They want to see that you do something besides work. You've got a rounded social life. So if you've done any volunteering, put it in your profile. I'll show you how to do that. Skills and endorsements. She's got leadership, 44 people endorsed that. Program management, 20 people endorsed it. So she's got lots of endorsements. She's got 6 recommendations, and she's given 8 recommendations. Lots of stuff here. In terms of accomplishments, she's identified some honors and awards that she's gotten. And she also has a couple of publications that she has. And then interest. I'll just click into see all quickly. You know, she has a lot of influencers that she's following. But this is a place where, again, if you go to someone in your area's profile, look and see who they're following. I follow Bill Gates from her profile. So you can go through and see if there's any people in there that you would like to follow. And if you do, just click them, especially if they're people that are relevant or for your particular area of work. Companies and groups, like with Gary. Now, she only has one group. You don't have to have bunches of all of these. It's not a competition to see who has the most companies. This is probably one where having a few impressive ones is better than having 50 that nobody's heard of. So. Questions about Lauren? Okay. If not, let's take, hopefully you've got some ideas from these. And again, part of your homework is to go and look at more profiles and get ideas from other people that you respect or that you work with and see what they've done to incorporate into your profile. So once you've got ideas of what you want to do, let's show you how you can do that. So I'm going to go to my LinkedIn account, and you normally would come into your home page. So this is the home page. Some of everybody knows, but just in case you don't, this is what I'm talking about, the news feed. This is where you can get information from your people in your network, from organizations you follow. This is how you can stay current on what's going on in your business area. It's also a way to find people you may want to invite to be in your network. Another class. We're going to go into our profile. So it's over here in the far right where it has me, has your picture. That's how you get to your profile. We'll kind of work from the top down. Again, you can see I use a customized background, one that from Get Set Up. But if you want to change, you can just click here. And this is where this was a background photo that actually Get Set Up provided for us. But if I wanted to change this, I could delete this. And there are some standard stock ones out there that you can pick that LinkedIn provides. You could just get a picture, as I said, that you took and just crop it to fit in this area, or go out to the stock images on the web and find something. It could be something, doesn't even have to be relevant to your job. The one I had before this was just a nice sunset picture. But again, it was something to not have the standard stock background. The pencil always is where you edit. And so this is where you can edit your intro, your name. This is that headline, which could be your job description. Now there's a separate place to put your current position title. So my position title is guider and trainer. What I put for my headline instead of guide, trainer, and Get Set Up is helping seniors attain skills and confidence needed to be happy and successful lifelong learner. You can decide whether you want to show your education and your work in your intro. If you make changes, click Save. I didn't make any changes, but that's this section. So I clicked that I wanted to show my current employer. I wanted to show my where I went to school. If you don't want these to show up, you just unclick those here. Don't show my company, don't show my school, and it won't show them here. This is important if you are job hunting. This is open to, and this is where you can let people know that you're open to a new position. I'm going to click on that. And this is if you're a company hiring, but this is from the personal side. I'm looking for a new job. And you can provide some information. What job titles are you looking for? If there's certain geographic areas you're interested in, you can put those in here. If you're open to working remotely, you can check here, type of employment. But the most important thing here probably is choose who sees that you're open. And you've got two choices. Let's say I'm unemployed and I want all my friends and acquaintances on LinkedIn to help me find my next job. I can click here, and what it does, and you can kind of see here a little bit, it will put a little banner on your picture that says you're open for employment. That's what this little green banner is saying. So that anybody that sees you, even if they do a search and they see your picture, anytime they see your picture, it'll have this banner that you're looking for work. Let's say you're still employed and you don't want your boss and your coworkers to know you're looking for a job, then you click recruiters only. If you click that, only people that have the recruiter version of LinkedIn, that's a premium version of LinkedIn, costs more money. So only people that have that recruiter's version can see that you're looking for a job. And they can search for people that have this flag set when they're trying to fill a position. And I'm going to X out of this because I'm not looking for a job right now, but that's how you can set that open field. Questions about that one? I'm glad they moved this here. It used to be hidden over here. You had to go in a couple levels to get to it. Now it's right here on the main page, which they made that change not long ago, which I think is great because that's important.
Ray,
Question.
it's Christine.
Uh-huh.
I'm doing job search workshops, and one of the questions I was asked about LinkedIn, and I'm glad to see what they've updated. But are you going to cover the other privacy settings for people who do want to hide, or do they just use the open to as a privacy setting for only recruiters?
That's the main privacy setting that I cover and that I'm familiar with. There are some additional settings that there may be some other things that you can do, but this is the main one I typically use to, especially in terms of letting people know that you're job hunting. So that it could be anybody or just recruiters. I'm going to flip through the dashboard because this is not something you're setting. This is just telling you who's viewed your profile, who's viewed posts that you've made, and how many search appearances you showed up in. If you are job hunting, this is important to monitor because you can tell if your profile is working. Are people looking at it? Are they seeing you? If you go in and tweak your profile, it's a good way to see if your tweaks changed anything. Did these numbers go up? So it's a little bit of a way to monitor if the things you're doing are working for you. Here's that about section we talked about. So again, just click the pencil and you can go in and edit your about. So if you've thought of some better ways to structure this one so that you set that hook here and then provide more information later, that's where you can change that.
Excuse me, this is Michelle.
Yes, ma'am.
How long does the history go up just a little more, I think, where it shows how on your dashboard, how long does that, is it from the time you've built your LinkedIn profile, or is it annually, or? Did my question?
Yes. Oh, here it is. Last 90 days.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah. I knew it was in there. I was trying to find it. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. All right. I'm going down to experience. And again, so this is your work history. for the whole profile, plus says add a new section. In this case, add a new job, and the pencil lets you edit whichever one you're looking at. So if you edit, you can go over the basic information here, but this is where you can modify the description and provide some additional information. And this is where you can upload those links that Lauren had done. So if you want to link to a picture or an article or whatever, this is how you can upload something or link to something on the internet, like she was doing. Education, same thing. I'll click into here. This is where she was told a little bit more about where she got one of her degrees. So this is where you can add an additional description. I put that I focused on behavior analysis with a minor in statistics. And you can add information like that. This is Smith College, is a small community college that, whatever you can add there. Skills and endorsements, we talked a lot about this, is important. You can just add a new skill from here. So by clicking add a skill, based on your profile, it's going to make some recommendations of things that might be a skill that you have based on what they've seen. But you don't have to pick one of these. You can just create a skill. I can say e-training, which may not even be something they have in there as a skill, but you can put in anything. If you start typing, it will start to show you some typical skills that have those first three letters. So if I want to add a skill for training, I could pick that. And it's now, if I click add, it will add that to my list of skills. I'm going to click the plus. This is where you can go in and edit your list. So I click the pencil. And I said, it only shows you the top three, and they use kind of a bulletin board analogy. So these are the three that you've got pinned to your bulletin board up here. To put something new up here, I've got to take something away. So let's say I want to swap out software implementation. So I click on the pin, and now I've got a slot to put something in. And maybe I want to add whatever, leadership. That now moves leadership up here, and you can use the little triple bars to drag them up and change the order. So even within that list of three, the most important one is on top, and then the next, and then the next most. It's a good idea probably to go through this, especially if you're lots of times, if you have changed careers, and there's some skills in here that were relevant for your former job, but they're really not that important for the job you're now trying to find. I would get rid of the ones that aren't relevant and focus on the ones that are. So sometimes there's no big win in having a huge long list. Probably if this list is too long, people won't look at the whole thing. So it bears some culling out periodically, especially if you're changing jobs. I'm going to discard the changes I made. For questions about skills, there's also got a little skill quiz that you can take to help you come up with maybe some good skills that is when you have a little bit of time. I would probably, this is something else, I would do it by looking at other people's profiles in my area and seeing what skills they've put out here is probably better than the skill quiz, to be honest. Plagiarism isn't a problem with LinkedIn. Again, recommendations. We talked about the fact that recommendations are important. Here's how you can ask for a recommendation from someone. Just click ask for a recommendation, and you say, who do you want to ask? I'll ask Gary Gartner. Showed his profile. But you pick someone that can give you a recommendation. You indicate the relationship. Gary worked with you, but in a different group, whatever your relationship is. He was your boss, you were his boss. Because Gary may or may not remember you. If Gary is still a friend of yours, you don't have to worry about this too much. But if Gary is someone you haven't talked to in 10 years, you want to make sure Gary remembers who you are. Where were you working at the time? And then it's where you would just say, hey, Gary, would you write me a recommendation? And like any request for a recommendation, give a little context. Hey, I'm changing careers. I want to go back to doing something I did before. Can you write me a recommendation? So that way, Gary would know if I'm no longer doing what we did together. Don't write a recommendation about skills that I had that aren't relevant to what I'm doing now, but he could still be a character reference for me and provide that kind of information. So the more information you give the person, the better the recommendation is going to be. And hit send. Nice thing about it is they can write the recommendation and post it through LinkedIn. So it's easier than having to write something and email it to you. And I'm going to X out of this instead of sending it. It's good to have one or two out there all the time. If you're job hunting, it's probably even more important to make sure you've got preferably 3. That's kind of the magic number, I think. And then interests we talked about already. Questions about anything here we've talked about, anything I haven't talked about?
I have a question, Wade.
Sure.
I'm a human resource consultant, and I've had long-term assignments with many companies over the years. Some, maybe 5 years, some up to 10 years. And I'm never quite sure how to put that on LinkedIn because they didn't really employ me, yet my relationship with them is significant. What suggestions might you have?
I was just going to go look and see if there's a way to. There is a contract relationship here, so you could have the employment type as a contractor. If is that what you were doing?
Yeah, that would be correct.
Yep. So that in that case, it's clear that you weren't a full-time employee. You were in a contract relationship, but you were involved with that organization. So that may be all you need to do.
And is that would be under experience?
Yes. So let me get out and show you. So if you go into the company, so I just pick Get Set Up since that's the first one on my list, and click the pencil, and then it's employment type.
Okay.
So if I was a contractor there, and then when you're writing up what you did, you could also make it clearer. I was a contractor for them, helping to figure out yada, yada, yada. So you can make it clear in the description as well what the contract relationship was, but this makes it stand out.
Okay, thank you.
So it's without being disingenuous. Yes.
Okay, I have a question.
Hey, Julie.
First, before the pandemic closed everything down, I was working for Habitat for Humanity. But as far as they saw it, I was basically a volunteer because Easter Seals was paying me to work at Habitat for Humanity. And now I am working for a donation center for a wildfire evacuees center. And once again, as far as they look at it, I'm a volunteer, but I'm getting paid for Easter Seals by Easter Seals. So how to say it's part-time, but it's not really.
Yeah, there's not, I was looking to see if they have a volunteer, and they don't have a volunteer. I'm kind of surprised. They do have a blank here, but you can't fill in the blank, it doesn't look like.
Yeah.
So you might just put that and then put it in the description down there below that you were a volunteer.
Should I put Easter Seals as the employer and then a little bit for Habitat for Humanity and a little bit for Love First, and have 2 different paragraphs, or does that seem too confusing?
Um,
As an HR person, I would say that's a good idea.
okay,
Okay.
thanks,
Thank you.
Barb. 'Cause-
I have a suggestion also.
Hey, Christine.
Yeah, so basically whoever is giving you the money is who you're going to put. Are you employed by Easter Seals or are they just providing funding to you?
It's mostly funding.
Okay, so you want to put them down, and then it sounds like you need to know what the term is, whether you're contract or freelance. So for example, I work for a college on contract to the Boeing company. So I put the college that was employed me, but it was the Boeing company where I worked and who actually paid my salary. So that's why you put who is actually responsible for funding you on contract working at Habitat for Humanity. And whatever the term is that Easter Seal use, whether it's freelance or whether it's contract, you just need to be clear, because even on a resume, in an interview, they're going to ask you, well, what is your relationship with Easter Seal? You need to be able to use their terminology.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Christine. Good points.
So I asked a good question.
That was a good question. And actually, you prompted one thing I meant to show you that I didn't. And let me do this very quickly because we're running out of time, but there's lots of great questions here. And I love it. So these are the sections that are already in your profile and how to edit them. But I showed you some things that probably aren't in your profile, and volunteering is one of them that made me think about this. Add a section is where you can add a section to your profile that's not in there. So for instance, if you go into background, you got your work experience and education. This is also where you can add those licenses and certifications. So if you have a license or a certification, you can click here and add that. Just fill out the little form and click save. If you've done volunteer work, you can click here and add that you were a volunteer at Red Cross and what your role was, et cetera, when you worked there, and add those things to your profile. The other place we talked about where there were a lot of things that people were adding that I showed you were under accomplishments. This is where you can put in things like publications that you have, patents if you have one of those, courses you've taken that are relevant, projects that you worked on that you think are notable and someone employing you want to know about, honors and awards, test scores, I don't quite understand. Languages, if you're fluent in another language, that's important. So this is where some of those other sections in there you can add. So if there's a course that you took, put it in here and click save. So that's how you can expand into some other pieces that aren't currently in your profile.
Thank you.
Sure.
Wade, can I make another suggestion?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
I've reviewed resumes for a long time. And one of the things people do for volunteering is not to give themselves credit for what they did. So do not put that your job title was volunteer. That means you weren't paid. What you want to put down is what you did for them. Typically, they've given you, like if you worked at a food bank, you sorted food, or you did fundraising. So make sure you give yourself credit with a little description of what you did. At the end, you can put in parentheses volunteer, but volunteer is not the job title. It just says you weren't paid. So make sure you give yourself credit for what you did, maybe how many hours you worked there, etc. Because an employer is also looking at, you know, what else you do with your time, and did you, especially if you're using this similar skills to, like I serve on a board of directors, so similar leadership skills. So what you do, it just helps the employer to know what else you know and what else you.
Thanks, Christine. Okay, so we are out of time here. It went a little long, but it was great discussion, and I love great discussion. Thank you so much for asking the good questions. Let me just quickly go through a couple of closing slides. In terms of a related course, I mentioned this already, there's a follow-on class called Use LinkedIn to Grow Your Network and Find a Job. So once you've got that killer profile out there, now you're ready to go out and take the next steps, and that's covered in this class. And in closing, I want to make sure you know there'll be an email coming out after class that will have some notes in it. The class notes will contain links to a couple other websites that have some information about LinkedIn, that some of it covers some of the things we covered in class. Some of it is some additional information we didn't cover in class, a little bit more homework for you. I'll include a link to that related class as well in the class notes. So if you're interested in taking that class, you can just click the link in the class notes. You can recommend this class to a friend via Facebook or via email. There's a Give Feedback link that opens up the feedback form, very quick and easy, only 2 questions. How do you rate the class 1 to 5? How do you rate the guide 1 to 5? And the last link is to view schedule. That takes you to our website where you can book another class. I mentioned the live streaming, and I did want to show you where that is in case you haven't found that. So over here on the bottom left of the screen where it says TV, that's where you can go into the live stream from our website. And in this case, this is Russ, how to pack a carry-on for a 2-week trip. So we're in his class. He's getting ready to start his class, it looks like. He can't see us, he can't hear us, but you can watch his class. If you watch his class for a few minutes and you say, hey, that's a great class, I want to take that class, just click register for the class, and then you can actually be registered and take the class. So this is not a bad way to screen a class. Maybe you think you might be interested, you're not sure. Watch 5 or 6 minutes of it, and if it looks good, go ahead and register for the class. Of course, you can watch the entire class from here as well. It's up to you. Let me show you 2 other things. We are 1 minute over, so I'm going to have to stop there because I do want to get you out in time to get to your next class, which may be Russ's class. I don't want you to be late. So I do want to thank you all for attending. Hope you enjoyed the class and learned some useful information here. And I certainly hope I see you again in one of my classes soon. Thanks, everybody. Have a great afternoon and a wonderful weekend. Bye now.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.